everybody. Well, that intro is really short, huh?
Yeah, it's like surprising something.
So big day today. Big day. We're starting Pticha, third round. Every round is completely different, at least for me. I have to kind of do all the prep for the lessons like anew the night before. I just kind of like throw out all my notes from last semester and redo them this semester. This year, we have Zoom, which is completely new for us, and we can see all of you, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
So we can skip the whole who's with us today, because you all know, because you can all see each other, which is great. So Pticha, I think we should probably start with item 155.
Okay.
The study of the the introduction to the study of the 10 Sefirot. I always forget which page this is on. Oh, okay, but luckily my book opens to it automatically. On page 373. Actually, we should say that today we're starting with Pticha, item 1 on page 565. So you can get your books in that direction, opening. But first, let me read on the introduction to the study of the 10 Sefirot, which is another article that Baal Sulam wrote. Here he talks about, and we actually read about it a couple of weeks ago. We had this excerpt about studying in general, and we like to reread this as often as possible because it reminds us that we're not in a regular type of university, but instead it's a different type of study. And Baal Sulam talks about how this study works in this item. So page 373 from Introduction to the Study of the 10 Sefirot, item 155. Therefore, we must ask, why then did the Kabbalists obligate each person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there's a great thing in it, worthy of being publicized. There's a wonderful and valuable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Although they do not understand what they are learning, through the yearning and great desire to understand, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. And while one has not yet attained perfection, the lights that are destined to reach him are considered surrounding lights, or makif. That means that they stand ready for him, but are waiting for him to purify his vessels of reception, at which time these lights will clothe the able vessels. Hence, even if he does not have the vessels, when he engages in this wisdom, mentioning the names of the lights and the vessels, the kilim, related to his soul, they immediately shine upon him to a certain extent. However, they shine for him without clothing the interior of his soul, for lack of able vessels to receive them. Yet the illumination one receives time after time during the engagement draws upon him grace from above, imparting him with abundance of sanctity and purity, which bring him much closer to achieving perfection. So here we touched on a couple of terms that we're going to discuss today, namely vessel and purity, and the light entering the vessel and clothing the interior of the soul. And we'll get into why even that's unnecessary or a good thing at all later on today. So do you have any opening words?
Yeah, okay, so basically from what we've read, all of reality is felt by a certain point of view that we determine as ourselves. At the current state, Kabbalists tell us at least that everything that we perceive, that even if we divide it to external, internal perception, is all in our perception. Now we're just like a black point in this big screen on which we perceive reality. That's why reality for us at the moment is dark, meaning that it has no sensation of light of the upper force, although it is filled with light, meaning that the one that comes to the right perception reveal this whole system as shining, meaning revealing all of the connection, all of the deeper wisdom and sensation that connect all of this structure, like a metadata or like what we call light, shining in on this big screen. And what we've just read, that even if the person is in the dark, meaning it still doesn't have the vessel to receive all of this light or to sense it, if he or she is aimed to attain that, even in a very unconscious kind of very primitive, unmature. How do you say about a fruit that is not ripe yet? Is there a name for that?
Yeah, sure there is.
In English? Okay, so like an unripe fruit, even though one is not in that state yet, but he or she wants to be in that, some of this light starts to shine, meaning some kind of sensation that there is something outside, that there is something deeper in this darkness, that there is something more to reality, and that there is something that one should attain. And this is what he says about the vessels being still external, and what we call Meki, for the surrounding light, shines on that. It's not even a soul. It's like the root of the soul, like the point that is like the beginning of a soul, meaning of a vessel to receive or to sense divinity or the Creator. That was yeah. That was
that was outstanding.
Yeah, you asked.
No, please. All right, so let's just jump right in and get started. We're on page 565 in the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah, the Pticha.
Okay.
Let's see. It says, while studying, it is recommended to examine the drawings at the end of the essay. Ha'ilan. Which is nice. So we'll do that throughout studying.
Yeah, it's more relevant to the last part of the article.
Yep. All right, so let's begin. We'll read item 1, and then we'll go over we'll summarize it, we'll go over some terms that we learned in item 1, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, so page 565, if you have questions or comments, or if you have ideas about English words that we're missing, you can write it all in the chat in the Zoom. The thought of creation and the 4 phases of direct light. Rabbi Hanania, son of Akashia, says, the Creator wished to cleanse Israel. Hence, he is giving them plentiful Torah and mitzvot, commandments, as it is written, the Lord was pleased for his righteousness' sake, to make the teaching great and glorious. It is known that cleansing is derived from the Hebrew word purifying. It is, as our sages said, the mitzvot were only given for the purification of Israel. We must understand this cleansing, which we achieve through Torah and mitzvot, and what is the aviyut, thickness, coarseness, will to receive within us, which we should cleanse using Torah and mitzvot. Since we have already discussed it in my book, Panim Masbirot, and in the study of the 10 Sefirot, I shall briefly reiterate that the thought of creation was to delight the creatures, in accordance with his abundance generosity. For this reason, a great desire and craving to receive his abundance was imprinted in the souls. This is so because the will to receive is the kli, vessel, for the measure of pleasure in the abundance. Since the measure and strength of the will to receive the abundance precisely corresponds to the measure of pleasure and delight in the abundance, and they are so connected that they are indivisible, except in what they relate to. The pleasure is related to the abundance, and the great desire to receive the abundance is related to the receiving creature. These two necessarily extend from the Creator, and necessarily came in the thought of creation. However, they should be divided in the above-mentioned manner. The abundance comes from his essence, extending existence from existence, and the will to receive, included there, is the root of the creatures. This means that it is the root of initiation. It is the root of initiation that is emergence, existence from absence, since there is certainly no form of will to receive in his essence. Hence, it is considered that the above-mentioned will to receive is the whole substance of creation from beginning to end. Thus, all the creatures, all the innumerable instances and conducts that have appeared and that will appear are but measures and various denominations of the will to receive. All that exists in those creatures, that is, all that is received in the will to receive, imprinted in them, extends from his essence, existence from existence. It is not at all a new creation, since it is not new at all. Rather, it extends from his endlessness, existence from existence.
Wow, thank you. So as usual, every single point, this point, like any other point in this article, is deeply profound and has a lot of content in it, and touches on almost the whole wisdom from beginning to end. So let's start at the beginning. So let's see. We mentioned, so let's go over some terms that we heard here and try to get them down with the understanding of, we must understand this cleansing, which we achieve through Torah and mitzvot, and what is the aviyut within us that we should cleanse using Torah and mitzvot. So immediately we have aviyut, Torah, and mitzvot. So aviyut, Torah, and mitzvot we're going to touch less on, but let's look at aviyut. Aviyut is a term that in Hebrew, what did I do?
I don't know.
At the Machshav?
We have
as you can see,
connection problem. No. Oh,
I broke it before now. I realized what I did. Okay. All right, aviyut. So literally, aviyut in Hebrew is thickness, like ovi. Like, you know, you would say like literally thickness in day-to-day modern Hebrew. For us, it's, or you can substitute it with coarseness, let's say. So when we talk about desires, we talk about fine desires and coarse desires. What this boils down to is intensity. The intensity of the desire. Intensity of desire. I don't know why I capitalized desire, but there it is. So what is this aviyut, coarseness, within us, and why we should cleanse it? It is known that cleansing is derived from the Hebrew word purifying. So let's talk about the opposite of this in the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is the word zakut, or purity. Zakut. The word zach is pure. Purity. And through Torah and mitzvot we purify aviyut. And what does this mean? So we'll leave that as an open question for now. In the next paragraph, in the study of the 10 Sefirot, I shall briefly reiterate that the thought of creation was to delight the creatures in accordance with this abundant generosity. So that's kind of like a fundamental thing that we should know. The goal of creation, already stated in the first item, the goal of creation is to delight his creatures, to delight, we'll call it the created being. And this is something that is usually, you know, you ask any kind of like student that's been here long enough, what's the goal of creation? To delight the created being. Like, they just kind of rattle it off. It's built in very much, and then from there, it actually it's a statement that packs in a lot of meaning. Why is that the goal? Like, literally, really, that's the goal of creation. That's the goal of everything that we've experienced, and all the, you know, from the Big Bang on, and, you know, and before, and all the upper worlds and all this world and everything. Yes, why is that the goal? Because the creator himself, that we'll talk about in a second, this force, is the desire to delight. So, of course, then the goal of creation is to delight the created being. It's the thought, like the single thought that came out of the creator. And now, so let's see. So, and this is, okay, and this is so, on the last paragraph of 565, and this is so because the will to receive is the kli, the vessel for the measure of pleasure in the abundance, since the measure and strength of the will to receive the abundance corresponds to the measure of pleasure and delight in the abundance. And they're so connected that they are indivisible, except in what they relate to. The pleasure is related to the abundance, and the great desire to receive the abundance is related to the receiving creature. These two necessarily extend from the creator and necessarily came in the thought of creation. However, they should be divided in the above-mentioned manner. The abundance comes from his essence, extending existence from existence, and the will to receive included there is the root of all the creatures. So let's talk about his essence for a second. The creator's essence. You know what? I'm actually going to start this on a new one. The creator's essence. And in Hebrew, we're going to start using more Hebrew terms this round. Atzmuto. Atzmut is like essence, and the O at the end points to his. So atzmuto means his essence. Like like essence is a really perfect word to describe this. Like, you know, the most him that he is. And this is something that we famously in Kabbalah never attain. We never attain this because it's outside of us. We're a kli, kind of a vessel that was created by the creator, and we only sense everything that's inside of us. Just like today, right now, at this very moment, and at every moment, we sense everything through our 5 vessels of reception. All the input, all the sound and light and everything that enters us, it enters us and then allows us to kind of sense or replicate what's happening outside of us. But truly, we don't know exactly what's happening outside of us, although we have like a very good approximation as far as we know. But we can't know for sure because we can't exit ourselves yet. So the creator's essence is not the creator, as far as we know. So let's talk about what the creator is as far as we relate to it. So the creator comes out of the creator's essence and is known as the following things: abundance, or in Hebrew, shefa. Abundance is it's another pretty good translation, and it refers to the infinite. There's no scarcity, basically. It's abundant because you can take from it, and it never lacks. It never runs out. It's infinite, because the creator, like, we have scarcity in this world, which was, you know, kind of implanted by the creator in order to develop us as egoistic beings to eventually become spiritual. But in the world of the creator, in the world of infinity, there's no need for scarcity. So the creator is just known simply as abundance, and also as the will to bestow. This is the creator, and this is why he created the created being, because of his desire to bestow to it. The will to bestow and the thought of creation. Thought of creation. All of this comes out of the essence of the creator. Thought of creation. And this thought of creation we will come to know as Keter in the future, very closely. Thought of creation / creator. This is all one concept, and light, or in Hebrew, or. So that comes out of the creator's essence, and what comes out of this, the creator, is the created being, which is desire, as opposed to abundance. desire, or the will to receive. I before E, except after C. The will to receive, or the created being. Or substance. Substance or material. Substance kind of mini slash material. And also opposing the light, we have Kli. I'm not even going to translate it. We all know it as vessel. Another thing to note is that this light is known as existence. Existence. And the creature is, or came from, let's say, this came from, so the light, the creator, the will to bestow came from existence. It always existed. In the deepest, in the fullest sense of the word always, this always existed, this thing that the creator is. And it came from existence, and the creature came from absence. Meaning the creature at some point did not exist. There was only the creator. Existence, I'm going to throw this term out there. This is, the word yesh means there is. So yesh, yesh, meaning there is from there is. And absence is yesh, meaning there is me from ayin, absence. Ayin. So we'll start peppering like little things like that, so you eventually start picking it up. But don't worry about you can writing down will of course be helpful to write down these terms if you keep like a notebook, which I see some of you are doing, which is excellent. I can go home and I have like just books of notes from all of this material. So it's definitely helpful, but don't worry about, no pressure at all about trying to cram it in. There's not going to be a midterm or anything. There will be a final. No, I'm joking. All right, so that was item 1. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, even better than a notebook, for me at least, is writing on the book. Just write on the book above the lines, like above each term, because you need to understand that what we're doing, we're actually trying to immerse ourselves in the text, in this material, just like we've talked in the end of the last lesson. In the beginning, it's about understanding the concepts and the words, just like Dan did, the translation, the internal translation, not the Hebrew, but what does it mean? So it's very similar to learning your mother tongue. So mother tongue, you don't learn from going to school or something. You just go into it and you start talking, and then you say, Baba, and they say, no, it's Mama, and you say Maba, and then they say Bobo, and then until you come up to Mama, and that's how it works naturally. So first you need to understand the words, what do they mean? And also this internal translation will sharpen or change according to your advancement. This is the first thing, because you'll acquire internal vessel to understand what it means. Just like when you were young, you said, oh, this is a sheep, and this is also, and it goes like meh, and then you go like meh, meh. Your mother goes like, no, this is moo. It's not meh, okay? It's something completely different.
It's a cow.
Yeah, it's a cow. And then later on, you understand that this sheep brings wool, and then you can do it on the barbecue if you're not vegetarian, and all kinds of stuff, or you can have milk. So these are all things that are added up. So be patient with that, because in the beginning you need to understand what it means. Then you understand how it will relate to one another. This is very important. And also the concepts, just like Dan said right now. So there are many concepts here in what we've just read, like existence for existence and existence from absence. the fact that in reality itself, like Baal Sulam writes, a picture of reality, if you take a frame from reality, it's a frame, it's complete. But when we talk about a light and a vessel, when we talk about a creature and a creator, we actually try to divide in an analytic kind of way the frame to two things. So Baal Sulam gives us some kind of parameter. According to what do you divide? So he's saying, if it comes existence from existence, if it's the light, if it relates to the pleasure, we're related to the creator. If it's about the absence, if it's about the vessel, we're related to the creature. If you want, you can take what we talked before, that if you're talking about the structure, about the sense that through it you reveal the data or the pleasure or the light, you call it the creature. If you're talking about the metadata or the light or the pleasure or the whatever is revealed, you call it the creator, okay? And it's very confusing in Kabbalah, because for example, here he refers to the word souls. So soul can refer to the structure, meaning the sense that by it I reveal the creator, or a soul can relate to a certain degree of revelation of the light. And it's very, very confusing. And you'll see in Kabbalah, that's why you should be flexible. So if for example, in our world, you say this is a pen, it doesn't matter what I'll do with it, it will stay a pen. In Kabbalah, if I use it to scrub my head, I'll call it something, one thing. If I'm using it to write it, I'll call it another thing. If I'll use it to poke them, it's a completely different name. This is also a concept that you just referred to, and it's very important, which is the fact that we don't attain the essence. Also in our world, we don't attain the essence. There's an article of Baal Sulam, the article of free choice, yeah, it's free choice in English, that Baal Sulam says that even concepts like freedom, yeah, even concepts like electricity, or even my own self, I don't have a clue what it is. Although we say electricity, every kid talks about electricity like he's talking about bread or sugar, but we don't know what it is. We don't know who we are. We just absorb actions, and according to these actions, we give a name to the thing that we want to, the thing that we want to understand. So I have a name for myself, electricity. I see it sometimes allow certain appliances to cool things down, to heat things up, to give energy. According to that, I give it a name, but I don't understand what it is in its essence. Why is this important? Because if we understand that we have no attainment in the essence, we understand that everything is relative, not in relative in a way that there is no reality.
Subjective.
Yeah, subjective. Okay, subjective is also yeah, relative and subjective. It's similar here, but that everything changes according to my own vessels. So if I had 4 senses and now suddenly I can see, then the whole concept of reality or how I call things completely change. Okay, so these are 2 things that Dan talked about. Terms, concepts, the way we attain things, these are all very important. Also, more concepts that we talked about here, for example, Israel. So Israel referred to the desire to attain the creator, okay? So this can be a bit confusing because it's completely different than what we're used to in our world. So you'll see that there are some concepts that you don't have a clue about, like aviyut and zakut, and it's easy because it's like learning Chinese if you're not Chinese. So you just call it and you say, this is mitzvot, okay, this is what it means. Laws of nature or actions to correct one's soul. But there are terms like Israel or soul that we have some kind of idea what they might be. And then we need to do double work. We need to completely erase what we previously think about it and acquire the new meaning. What else? So the pleasure is related to the abundance and the deficiency to the vessel. Yeah, and also, as Dan said, the concept that that the goal of creation is to fulfill the creatures or to give abundance. What does it mean? So in the beginning, I imagine abundance. I don't know. When I was 3 years old, for me, abundance was like a whole a store of candies. Woo! This is like the peakest of my life. Just give me a store of candies. And then I grow up, and when I'm in high school, I don't know, going on a date with the girl I fell in love with, and I have these chemical reactions to, then this is like the peak of my life. I'm hearing songs, I'm in love, butterflies fly, I don't know what. And then like the concept of what does it mean abundance changes. But in the end, in our world, we always, because we are real to receive for our own sake, will always picture the creator as a supplier of pleasure. Okay, so I imagine the creator all the time as something that is meant to fill myself, and I relate to myself as this proto in body walking on two. This is very confusing because even if we go to spirituality, in the beginning we think that we'll do certain actions and we'll get endless pleasure, you know, like the best dopamine, the best kind of free drug, I don't know, whatever you want to. This is very problematic, and we know,
although not entirely inaccurate.
Yeah, not entirely inaccurate, but and it's a problem because we are programmed to receive, like the, you know, like Hotel California song. Okay, so because we are programmed to receive, we're exactly like these rats in the laboratory, that if you connect this electrode to one's brain, and you give it a button to press, and it will get endless orgasm, it will die out of hunger, because it will just click the orgasm button, and it will be like in endless whatever until it dies. Okay, so you'll see that Kabbalist will refer to something completely different. Kabbalist will refer to abundance, or the supreme pleasure, as being resembled to the creator, meaning attaining the root of creation, attaining what we call a adhesion with the upper force, with this field of light that we are inside. And this requires, as you probably know by now, because you are very excellent students, that this requires a process of change of oneself in perception, from perceiving reality through this corporal body to perceiving reality in a different vessel. So this is more or less for now. We have some questions, and then we'll take it from there. So you want to add?
I just wanted to say one thing about like this concept of pleasure as being close to the creator. Like we can see how, you know, in our modern culture, you know, we have this concept of heaven, whatever heaven is. Heaven is like the ultimate fulfillment of your, what we consider our egoistic vessels, you know, how it's portrayed in movies and however we think of it. And also everything, we see how everything begins to kind of stem from Kabbalah, like eventually, you know, like the Bible and everything also came out of this. And like this notion of heaven, if we take it and look at it from like a Kabbalistic perspective, in Hebrew it's Gan Eden, like literally the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is the closest thing. We'll study actually where it's located in the whole structure of creation, but it's like right there. It's right like adjacent to the creator, and that's its defining characteristic, is its location, its proximity to the creator. That's all it is. And then as we attain these terms more and more, we realize how disconnected they are from our material ego, and how receiving pleasure here is nothing related to receiving pleasure here, and how our studies eventually they start bringing us apart. They start like forming a chasm between our egoistic vessels and our spiritual vessels, and it's not something that has to be kind of overcome or destroyed or built or anything like that. It's like the most natural built-in process to this whole attainment. Questions?
What's chasm?
chasm, rift, like a giant hole.
Okay, like a gap.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, new word, good. So Paul is asking, the text being referenced such as Makot are sections of the Zohar. No, sometimes usually Kabbalists either refer to the Zohar, but in this case Makot is a reference to the Mishnah. Mishnah is part of what we call the writing of the oral Torah that passed from one to another. So you have Mishnah, you have Halakha, Tosafta, you have Talmud, different names for in the end it's scripts, writings that come to describe the attainment of Kabbalists through the generations. They are called sages, meaning that they attained a certain level, etc. Kathy likes the examples. Good, Kathy. We're happy that it brings a smile to your face. Svetlana is asking, how do we know that there is no will to receive in his essence if we do not know his essence? So
I love that question.
What?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And of course we don't. But I think, did it actually write, where's that quote?
Where's the quote? I find it in Hebrew, but
since there is certainly no form of will to receive in his essence. Is it Be'atzmato?
Yeah, it's like, again, you can say how do we know that there is no will to receive there? So like I can explain complicated and simply, but in a simple way, let's keep it simple. In a simple way, Kabbalists that talk about the Creator in the word Creator derives from a reality of two, that there is a creature and a creator, like dark and light, will to receive and fulfillment. When a Kabbalist attain after what we call the end of correction, a reality that there are no opposites, just complete light. This is called the secrets of the Torah, the 7,000, the 8,000, all kinds of different names for that attainment. Then they are talking about a reality that there is no will to receive, because all of the process until the end of correction. What does it mean, the end of correction? Correcting our will to receive, correcting our illusion in our perception that there is something that was created out of absence that is separated from the Creator, until we come to a reality that there is just the Creator, and from that we we move higher. Okay.
So what we do attain, it's true that we don't attain. As far as we know, his essence, atzmuto, but we do attain the light of the Creator. Like this is, as far as we know, unattainable because it remains outside of us, just like the essence of anything. But the will to bestow, however, does enter the kli. So the light enters the kli, and when the light enters the kli, then we feel what the light kind of wants. We come into the similarity of form with the light, and by that we discover and attain that there is no will to receive in the light. It's entirely the will to bestow. So from that we can kind of extrapolate and say, okay, maybe I guess there's no will to receive in the essence. Also, the essence is almost like by definition without deficiency, and a will to receive is deficient, is the definition of deficiency.
Yeah, there's a more complicated answer, but let's not go into that. Also, Kathy reminds us that there are people who's doing this course for the 10th time, and there are people who's doing it for the first time. So if you're doing it for the first time, we're giving priority to you. So if you don't understand anything, just tell us to stop and ask again, and we'll do it in a correct way. And we know from experience that you should, by the end of the course, know everything by heart. No, we're just kidding. It's very hard to grasp it. It takes a few times to get into it. But still, if you're a first-timer, don't be shy. Let us know. Stop us and, and tell us you're way off. You're talking too deep. Go back to earth. whatever.
If we're doing well, by the end of the lesson, you should know less than the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. So, or that you know less.
Yeah.
Another question from Paul: Isn't Sof another term for the light?
No, Ein Sof is literally without end. Ein Sof, without end. There is no end, and it refers to infinity. Like in modern Hebrew, you would say infinity. Like you would say just Ein Sof. You know, like this diverges to Ein Sof or something.
No limitation. Like Sof is limitation. So it's a state where there is a complete attainment in the Creator, no limitations on that.
All right, let's do some text, and then we'll come back to.
You want to try these questions?
I think we'll have a few more.
Really?
Let's.
No, but we should try these questions.
Let's. We have a lot of.
Okay. Sorry.
You should wait. Well, we will have time for questions. We still have a good 50 minutes.
Thing I know about Zoom. You just go like question, and somebody can.
And you can see everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Dan wants to go on. So we're going.
So we'll continue with, yes, please.
Okay, item 2.
Page 566.
As we have said, the will to receive is innately included in the thought of creation, with all its denominations along with the great abundance. He had planned to delight them and impart to them. And know that these are the Or, light, and Kli, that we discern in the upper worlds. They necessarily come tied together and cascade together, degree by degree. And the extent to which the degrees descend from the light of his face and depart from him is the extent of the materialization of the will to receive contained in the abundance. We could also state the opposite. To the extent that the will to receive in the abundance materializes, it descends degree by degree to the lowest of all places, where the will to receive is fully materialized. This place is called the world of Asiya. The will to receive is considered man's body, and the abundance one receives is considered the measure of vitality in that body. It is similar in other creatures in this world. Thus, the only difference between the upper worlds and this world is that as long as the will to receive included in his abundance is not fully materialized, it is regarded as being in the spiritual worlds, above this world. And once the will to receive is fully materialized, it is regarded as being in this world.
Okay, so we have descent. Descent is here defined as materialization. And actually, and vice versa. Vice versa. That means that as something descends through the spiritual worlds, it becomes more and more material. Material, we can think of it even for now in the sense that we think of material things, it like materializes more and more in our, at least, attainment of it. And as things materialize, the more material they are, the further they have descended from the Creator. So here we can see that everything is material around us, 100% of things, and we can even include our thoughts in that. And so we know that they're 100% descended, like, not that we know that they're descended from the Creator specifically, but in Kabbalah, they're defined as totally opposite from the Creator, having gone the entire path from the Creator down. And so that gives us our definition of upper world, or at least a small description of it. The upper world is not fully materialized. Not fully materialized. Do you notice how much better this pen is working this time?
Oh, really?
Like 1,000 times better. I don't know. Somebody deserves credit for this because it's great. Let's see.
Nice.
Yeah. It's so much. It's like way smoother. Remember So, okay, that's the upper world, not fully materialized. And this world, call it this world. This world is fully materialized. And this world is also part of the world of Asiya. Asiya. The world of action, let's call it. Asiya, Maase is like
Did.
a deed. Yeah, things, yeah, like, in other words, in this world, I can do things like, move this pen around, lift this thing, do all sorts of actions, have a thought, and it happens regardless of my intention. That's the main thing. In spirituality, you can't move anything. Everything is completely static and immovable without changing its qualities, without changing its proximity to something else, or without changing its intention. Like wherever you are in spirituality, you're stuck until you change your intention. You can't just will to do something. Only in this world is that possible. Okay, that's number 3. We can, if you want to.
Yeah. Before that, maybe just to add a few things. First of all, world in Hebrew comes from the word olam, which means concealment, alama. So when we're talking about worlds, we don't talk about things that are up in the sky or somewhere inside of the ocean, or I don't know what. Worlds refer to different levels of concealment. So if there is a creator, it doesn't change. This is the field of reality. And then I can take off my glasses. Then I can close the light. I can close my eyes. And every time I have less attainment in this creator. This is called, what is referring to here, to depart from the upper light. To depart from the upper light to what he called here, descent from his face. Okay, so again, what is the face? So we refer to revealing the creator as being revealing his face. And when we see only the actions, or actions, blurred actions, when the resolution is not very clear, we say that we reveal the creator from the back. Okay, it's a way of speaking. So so the descendant later on in Pticha will talk about how this descending being made. But to descend, meaning to attain less of the creator, just like with closing the light or dimming the light, like with the dimmer. And this is called materializing. Materializing means more will to receive, okay? And this is very important, because also the term that we referred to in the previous item, which is called aviyut, coarseness, is actually like a scale of how farther we are from the creator.
A measure.
Yeah, like a measure. Just like distance I measure in miles, or in the kilometers, or weight I measure in pounds or in kilos. That's how I measure the will to receive, meaning my chasm.
Chasm?
You said the word chasm,
yeah.
Like the gap.
Yeah.
From the creator. Yeah, I'm implementing what I'm learning.
Yeah, no, this is good.
Okay,
this is the key to learning.
Yeah, so and you see how I'm saying it, like I know what it is. Yeah,
you do.
That's how we play. You see,
100%.
you just
if you want to know what it is, you can.
This is very important. This is like small kids. When you go to a kid and he's playing like he's conquering a world, or he's a fire department, he's not saying, I'm playing that I'm a fire department. He's like, whoa, bring in the sirens. Let's go and extinguish the fire.
Set things on fire.
Okay, so this chasm between me and the creator is being measured by the aviyut. Okay, so this is a measure of materialization. Okay, this is important. Another thing is, another terms that he's saying here is about man's body. So a body in Kabbalah refers to the will to receive, just like he said here. If you see is, like the word is in English, is, usually it's like equal mark in math. Yeah, you say equal mark.
Yep.
So you have equal mark. So what I'm doing, if you see my books, so if Baal Sulam says, for example, the will to receive is considered man's body. So I'm just marking man's body, will to receive. And then I know that body means will to receive. Or when he's saying abundance one receives is considered the measure of vitality in that body. So the abundance equals vitality in the body, okay? So, so this is very important because it allows us to understand more or to try to be closer to the Kabbalist.
So I added those terms here. Basirtut, yeah. So yeah, so we added, so olam is world. And it's a concealment, as Aran said, and body in Hebrew is goof, and we're going to start using goof more and more and more often because body is extremely confusing, as well as other anatomical terms. And this is entirely just the will to receive. Yeah, and this is, wow, it's so, they're defined so well in the article that it's really important to stick to exactly what the definition is, because if you start straying side to side, you realize that you lose so much meaning by doing that. Okay. So right now, let's read item 3, yeah, because it has a lot of terms, and then we'll
you want more terms?
We'll do questions. Yeah, okay. We have a whole table of terms.
Okay, since everybody knows everything, we're going to have more terms.
Yeah, so if you have questions about items 1, 2, and 3, or any other questions, or whatever, about anything, then just write them down, jot them down, or remember them, short-term memory, and we'll go over them right after item 3, and then hopefully maybe we'll even get to item 4 today.
Okay, 3. Mm-hmm. The above-mentioned order of cascading, which brings the will to receive to its final form in this world, follows the sequence of 4 discernments that exist in the 4-letter name Havaya. This is because the 4 letters Havaya, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, in his name, contain the whole of reality, without any exception. In general, they are described in the 10 Sfirot, Chochmah, Binah, Tiferet, Malchut, and their Shoresh. There are 10 Sfirot because the Sfirah Tiferet contains 6 internal Sfirot, called Chagat Ne'i, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and the root, called Keter. Yet, in essence, they are called Chubtum, Chochmah, Binah, Tiferet, Malchut. And there are 4 worlds called Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. The world of Asiyah contains this world within it. Thus, there is not a creature in this world which is not initiated in the world of Ein Sof, in the thought of creation to delight its creatures. Hence, it is innately comprised of light and kli, meaning a certain measure of abundance with the will to receive that abundance. The measure of abundance extends existence from his essence, and the will to receive the abundance is initiated existence from absence. But for that will to receive to acquire its final quality, it must cascade all along with the abundance within it through the 4 worlds, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. This completes the creation with light and kli, called Guf, and the light of life within it.
All right, so let's take our time, go over this.
Yeah, this is like, let's kill you and give you all the terms in 4 lines, and then see how you cope.
So let's build a table, because that's the only way I know how to process these types of information dumps. Okay, so what do we have? So we have, first of all, we have the name, the 4-letter name.
Again, a name is how we perceive something, okay?
Yes, exactly. So a name here I wrote is attainment. Name, it's famously, there's like a phrase, because as your hand will attain, it means that we name something once we understand, not understand, but at least we name something as soon as we have some form of attainment of it, whatever it is, you know, like that doesn't require further explanation. And it follows a sequence of 4 discernments that exist in the 4-letter name Havaya. So Havaya is Yud He Vav He, as we saw, or Yud K Vav K, as you'll hear pronounced, I guess, because why do we do that, by the way?
Why do we do what?
Why do we say Yud K Vav K?
In Hebrew you say Yud K Vav K because it's like a tradition that comes to symbolize the fact that we cannot attain the explicit name of the Creator until the end of correction. And because we cannot attain it in the most pure, accurate way, which is this explicit name of Yud K Vav K, in Hebrew, instead of saying Yud He Vav He, you're saying Yud K Vav K. So it's like a tradition that you don't really attain it until the end of correction. It's very similar if you read, for example, the book of Zohar. So in the book of Zohar, you have the names of different angels, meaning different forces that act on the spiritual level. So when you read it, you don't read the whole of it, because again, when a Kabbalist reads the script, the writings, and if he's in that state, for him it's like a recipe, like when you're making a cake. So he's reading and he's performing these internal actions inside of him, attaining what is written, just like you read, take 2 eggs, break them and put them in the whatever, and then add some butter, and you're reading and you're doing, he's doing that internally. So because by reading it, he's like activating internally what is written. So because we don't do that, we read it not in a complete way. So you can say that this is similar to here. So because we don't really activate the name, we don't really attain it in its purified way, we just read Yud K Vav K. This is like a tradition.
So
but you can do whatever you do. Yeah, like for us it's like taking a cow and try to set this book in front of a cow, and the cow goes like, it's chewing, and it's like, so the cow doesn't really do anything until it develops, until it attains this upper light that changes it to be a person from a cow. It doesn't really do anything. So some beginners think that by reading the activating forces, or they have powers in the letters, like it's a good attitude because it gives respect to the text, but actually it works completely different.
Okay, so all right, so let's go back to our terms.
We have like thousands of questions.
We will do that. Don't worry. We have to dump this table. So, okay, so name, as we saw, it's a letter of attainment. It has 4 letters, Yud He Vav He. I guess we'll just stick to avoid confusion for now. We'll just read it as is. And his name contains the whole of reality without exception. That's all it is. It's just the whole of reality. And that'll become more clear as we go on.
Yeah, like the DNA of reality.
Yes, and in general, they're described in the 10 Sfirot, Chokhmah, Binah, Tiferet, and their Shoresh or Keter, root or Keter. So we're going to, okay, so let's look at the Hebrew letters now. So this is Yud, the Hebrew letter Yud. This is the letter He. This is the letter Vav, and this is the letter He again. So look, already we learned 1 letter at least. And the Sfirot that correspond to them are Keter. And Keter actually just corresponds to the tip of the Yud. The tip of the Yud. I'm going to do a little arrow there. So it's just the tip, the initial kind of the zero state, the state that was always there, existence from existence, almost the thought of creation is Keter. And Chokhmah corresponds to the whole Yud. Binah corresponds to He, the upper He. Binah. Tiferet corresponds to Vav, and Malchut corresponds to the lower He. And Tiferet, as we saw, actually blows up into 6 Sfirot. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet again, recursively. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. So that's Tiferet, that's Sfirot, and worlds. Don't forget the worlds. World. The world, we have for Keter, Adam Kadmon. Let me move these guys over a little bit before I run off the screen. Adam Kadmon. Chokhmah is Atzilut. Bina is Bria. Tiferet is Yetzira. And Malchut is Asiya. And Asiya we already saw today. So that's a small review for us. And this whole thing, this whole table is something that Baal Shalom thinks is really important that we know. Because even in other articles, the other article, and not just him, but also the Ari, the book of life, the article that the study of the 10 Sfirot is based on, that it begins with that. Like also in the what was the other one? Beit Shara Kavanot, like the gate of intentions. Also, it begins with this. First, we just rattle off that Yud He Vav He, and then we have all the Sfirot, and then we have the worlds. We just rattle them off, and we start linking them, the correspondences between them. And this actually builds. This is like the outermost big picture, like the skeleton of the rest of the study. That as we see. It's a skeleton in the sense that as we start adding terms, we can start kind of putting them on. We can start putting them in their place. We have like a framework to start building things on. So it's really, so he always kind of dumps this in the beginning of the article, and it's very important for him that we have this association in our heads.
Yeah, maybe we understood that it's a bit confusing that we're talking and the frame is just showing the drawing sometimes, and so be patient. We'll try to fix that. But maybe to add to that in a more simple way, think of it as the DNA of creation. So just like in the DNA, you have these four neutral, how do you call it? Like nitrogen molecules or whatever. You have these four that you give them like the items. So you have C, G, A, T, and from these four, you have all different sequences and combinations. And there are many in nature, there are many structures that are built according to a structure of four. Also, like the ancient Greek took it to the place of soul, fire, water, and air, and all kinds of stuff like that. And so think of it like the DNA of creation. In what term? We talked about in the previous item that all of reality is built from a combination of light and vessel, right? Creator and creature. So think of it that there are like 10, the 10 Sfirot are like 10 basic different combinations or relations between light and vessel. So in Keter, you have a lot of light and very few materialization of the vessel. And in Malchut, you have the most materialization and the less of light. And in between, you have like a sequence of different levels of combination. And this 10, which you can also compress to 4, because one of them divides into 6, is what allows us to talk about the different, these are like the basic Lego bricks that from that we can build all of creation, or that all of creation is built from. And also the worlds are a manifestation of the structure, but on a higher resolution, okay? So just like you have in the smallest resolution, each thing divides into the structure of 4, then also on a magnitude or on a higher scale, a higher resolution, it's also divided into a structure of 4. We'll talk about it later on, how there is always in nature a resemblance between the part and the whole. Okay, but this is later on.
So the last paragraph is, I'll reread it now. But for that will to receive, to acquire its final quality, it must cascade along with the abundance within it through the 4 worlds, or through the 4 levels of concealment. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. This completes the creation with light and kli called guf, and the light of life within it. Item 4, the next one, since it follows directly from that, begins with the reason why the will to receive must cascade by the 4 above mentioned discernments in Abiyah. Abiyah is short for Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Is that there is a great rule concerning the kilim. The expansion of the light and its departure make the kli fit for its task. This is very important. This is the whole point of like kind of everything that we're experiencing is in the creator's thought of creation to delight his creatures, to fill it with maximal pleasure. He there's no need to, he automatically optimizes everything. He's not like, there's no like trial and error. Maybe there is really, but as far as we know, like towards the end, you get a perfectly optimal creature or created being that's filled kind of infinitely with pleasure. And to fill it infinitely with pleasure, you can't just stuff it full of something, as we'll discover in later lessons, because it's not going to appreciate what it had until it's gone, which is a very real thing that works in spirituality as well. The expansion of the light and its departure make the kli fit for its task. It means that the creator fills this vessel with light, removes the light to generate a craving or a true desire for the light that finally forms that vessel, and then replaces that light, or has a created being itself ask for the light, generate a deficiency for itself to fill itself with the light. And that is the true, then it experiences true pleasure after not having it to begin with. This means that as long as the kli has not been separated from its light, it is included in the light and is annulled within it like a candle in a torch. That means that until we cascade all the way down, all the way down through all the worlds, through all the levels of concealment, and come to Asiya, in which, as you know, as you feel at this moment, there is no light whatsoever. There is no sensation of the creator. There's just complete emptiness. And until we come to that state, we don't have a kli. We can't begin to develop a kli that will be fit to actually receive the creator. Only from here on, only once we hit kind of rock bottom can we start to climb back up. And must we start to climb back up to reach full attainment again in all the worlds. And it's not like we come to Adam Kadmon, if this is the first world and we want to be up here, we get more points for being up here than less up here. This is more pleasure and less pleasure. It's not like that at all. All of this is one perfect system. All of these worlds stay, and they kind of end up rolling into one perfect level of attainment. So that's what I wanted to cover from those points. Let's do some questions.
Yeah. I just want to say before the questions, you should be patient with yourself, okay? It's like observing and immersing in that. I also think that next time we'll just do it all over again. We'll start from the first item. We'll move faster on it, but just to get you in the groove, just get you in the flow. And also, it's good if you can watch the lesson in between the recording. Between this week and next week, it will help you to get much more out of this course. You will see that you hear things that you haven't heard for the first time. This is just like Dan said right now, that you first need to have something, lose it, and then get it again. The principle works the same with the learning. Okay, so questions. You want first text or first audio? We have a lot of text, and we have 40.
Let's hear some. If anybody wants to ask their question.
Yeah, no, let me. Questions?
Nice.
Nothing happens.
Very good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work.
I have a
So let's
question.
do-
Okay,
look
the
at-
I'll
let's-
ask
Zoom
mine.
is broken.
Let's
So
do
let's
this. Let's
do
look at the text,
Okay.
see who asked, offer them, welcome them to ask their question
Yeah,
live if
if
they
you
like.
want to ask a question live, just write live and or something. Okay. So first question.
From
What is-
Benjamin.
from Benjamin. Yeah.
Okay, would you like to ask your question?
He's probably forgot it. It was like half an hour ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
What is the difference between infinity and eternal? For example, we are not infinite and we are mortal. So is the soul eternal and infinite?
What?
Again, what is the difference between infinity and eternal?
Infinity and eternal.
Yeah.
I think we said eternal.
Yeah, I don't remember also, because eternal is more like rising above dimensions of time, that we talk in spirituality, that it's above time and space. And infinite, we talked about that. We said that there is no limitation. But okay, Tauris, how do you pronounce the name? How would you say that?
We can actually ask them.
Tauris. Okay.
Therese, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Tauris. What is the definition of dust?
So dust, or in Hebrew, afar, is, as far as we're concerned, dust is kind of, well, first it's material, as in like it's a material thing, because we said that from dust we came and to dust we shall return, like as in like our body, our will to receive, came from material. And material and will to receive are the same thing. So it came from, it is the will to receive. Secondarily, dust is something that's not important. Like we say that the creator, the Shekhinah, is in the dust, meaning that like right now we feel that the creator is unimportant to us. Even if we feel like egoistically that maybe, you know, it is and inspired, as we move on, we see how unimportant the creator actually is in our eyes. And we recognize the creator as being in the dust, as being something just like, I have like nibzi, I don't even know how to say like low. Like,
you don't have English
I don't
words.
that word.
Wow.
Sometimes
We're on a new level. Dan Berkovich doesn't know how
we're
to say it in English. It's cool.
It's like low, like discarded, contemptuous.
Yeah, afar. Yeah, I'll continue to that. Afar is like I'm looking for the English word, like the scientific definition. I don't know.
What are you trying to say?
No, for what you just said, like dust is like the lowest primitive form of matter. It's like
it's like if they knew what atoms were, they would call it atoms, maybe.
Yeah,
it's like an elementary particle of material.
It's even worse than that. It's like the most English, like חסר תועלת.
Most useless.
Yeah, it's like the useless form of matter, afar, that nothing can grow from it, nothing can come from it. So this comes to say, that, just like Dan said, that we hit a rock bottom before we rise up, that we say that a man is created from the dust, that you come from the dust, you go back to the dust, meaning the lowest form of the will to receive, from the lowest form of existence that is the most opposite of the creator. From that, you come to be into similar to the creator.
Okay? We call it the creator cursed the snake, the will to receive, the ego to subsist on dust.
Yeah.
It's always called it's cursed to stay in the dust.
It means that as long as we're under the control of the snake, of the will to receive, we taste dust in everything, because we
in everything of bestowal.
Yeah, we see all reality as dark because of the internal darkness inside of us. So that's why Dan said before that we taste the creator as dust, because we are at the moment in a state of dust. Okay, Benjamin is saying, asking, I didn't really understand the question about the creator and the creature and the rock, planet, cat, and human. When we refer here in Pticha to creator and creature, light and kli, we really recommend to translate creature as the light, creator as the kli, just like, or the structure and what is revealed in the structure, just like we talked before. All the forms in our world, cat, dog, pen, all the examples we give are just like illusions on a computer screen. So you just see these illusions, but they are not real. What is real is the code behind them that create these illusions on the screen. So don't get confused with the images, which are not real, but try to understand the deeper level. Does a Kabbalist ever use Adonai in place of the holy name, as is done in traditional services?
So the names, so in the Bible, or in any really Kabbalistic text, in any holy text that talks about the spiritual worlds, you have different names for the creator. You have Adonai, Elohim, Hashem, like all sorts of different names, and they actually refer to different aspects of the creator that are kind of covered by the terms that we discussed. So yes, all different terms are used for naming or referring to what we call the creator, and it's just a matter of like kind of what aspect we're talking about.
Yeah, just like Dan can be called a father, it can be called son, it can be called Dan, it can be called sister, brother, no, sister not, but brother. Today, go figure, you know.
Yeah, who knows?
You can just call yourself, I want to be called a sister. If not, I think it's a flaya. How do you call it? How do you say a flaya? I think
I know what the word is.
It's like this, wow. You know, when you, wow, how do you call a flaya? This is bad, forgetting words.
We're working on using our time really well.
Yeah, a flaya is like a flaya in English. A flaya is discrimination. Yeah. So you're discriminating me by not letting me be called a sister. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so Dan can be called.
The problem is if you suffer from it. If you truly suffer from it, then why should you suffer needlessly? Yeah. Because society doesn't understand you.
Okay, so Dan can be called different names according to the attainment. That's the same with the creator. Okay, somebody is saying that they want to see the screen bigger. We'll think how to do that. Kathy is asking, do you encourage learning the Hebrew alphabet?
Yes, absolutely. That would be an extremely good use of time. Learning the Hebrew alphabet, there are only 22 letters. And does that include the four ending letters?
No, 20. You have 5.
So five ending letters. So there are 22 letters, and 5 of them have alternate representations if they come at the end of a word. So it's not that many. There's no song for it, as far as I know. I never learned the song like A, B, C, D. Never learned it for Hebrew. But you can.
There is a song, but it's complicated. Like in Hebrew, when you learn English and you stuck what comes after, so you sing this A, B, C, D in your head.
That is what I do.
In Hebrew, you have a song that goes like the letter, the word that comes with the letter, and its context.
Can you start it?
Yeah, so it goes like Aleph Oel, Bet Zabayit, Gimel ze Gamal Gadol. So it's like Aleph is a tent, Bet is a house, Gimel is a camel. So until you sing it, you want to die. You know, you forget what letter really you wanted. Yeah, it's complicated.
What's interesting about the Hebrew alphabet is that the letters are named, like Aleph. It's not the letter. Like in English, the letter A is A because it makes the sound A. It's B because it's B because it makes the B sound. C, D, E, F. In Hebrew, the letters are named, like they're actual names. They're names dedicated to every letter. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. These are like every letter is treated with such respect because it has such like a depth of.
Yeah, it's a symbol. It's a symbol of structure. You'll see that it's very similar to math. The structure of the letters and also the structure of the words and how the words emerge into sentence. So just like Dan said, when I write Aleph, which is like the symbol, or I write the name Aleph, which is Aleph Lamed Pei, it talks about the structure of the forces in that state. So it's a lot, like regular people don't understand that, but it's like, it's about spirituality.
Anyway, it's a very good use of time, and in fact, we'll be using the Hebrew letters more as we talk about, like, you know, the four aspects of the direct light, the 4 phases, the Arba Pchinot, the 4 Pchinot of the direct light. We're going to talk about Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, at least the first 4 letters. Here we have Yud, He, Vav, He already.
By the way, I know that in Europe they're doing a Hebrew teaching course according to Kabbalist tractates. I don't know if they're doing it in KabU. You should ask Zohar, because I know that Bensi is doing that in Europe, in the European Learning Center.
What you can do is maybe on, you know, print out, like, just print out like the alphabet. I remember when I started, I printed out this sheet of Hebrew letters, their names in English, and also I had a column of the letters, a column of the names, and a column of what the letters looked like in script. Because Rav, when he would write, you know, when he would do his drawings, you know, he would, instead of using Aleph in script, nobody writes Aleph kind of in script. This is the letter Aleph.
Okay.
This is the letter Aleph, and this is this is block writing, and in script it looks like this. So this is what it always looks like in script. So you would have, you know, Rav, Bet, Gimel, and this is Bet, this is Gimel. So we're actually gonna see these next week also. Bet. So something like this would be very useful and nice to have next to your computer.
Yeah, so Kathy says that there is a course, and Cynthia says that there are great videos on YouTube. So I think we wrapped the Hebrew by now.
Okay, good.
Okay, Arlene is asking, no, Connie is asking before. So everyone has to hit rock bottom before they ascend, either in one life or the next.
Yeah, but not in the sense of, you know, like a literal gutter.
Yeah, like being homeless in a gutter with no food.
Being in this course is close enough.
Yeah, it's about the internal feeling that I feel that I am farthest away from the Creator, and I lack it in a way, like I need it like air to breathe, like oxygen. I feel that there is no life if I don't attain that. So this is called actually rock bottom, like the departure from the Creator. It's a qualitative term, not it's not about how much money you have or how much suffering you had in life. Okay, now Arlene is asking, how do you know which level or world you are in?
How do you know now?
Yeah, you know, like it's like when you are being born in our world, so you don't have a clue where you are at. You're just like a protein body, crying and eating and shitting. Sorry for the phrase, I don't know how to say. Is there a nicer word for that? Like,
no.
No, okay. So just getting rid of waste. And after that, you grow up and you know that you're in a house in a neighborhood and you have a kindergarten. You don't know about Trump and Kim, or about South America, or about the galaxies or quantum physics. And then you grow up and you start to know the world. So it's to the extent that you develop and recognize the reality you're in, that you understand where you can locate yourself in that. And we know from professions that the farther away you go into that profession, the more you know how much you don't know. So you can ask, so does a professor of physics know more than a first grade teacher that is certain that she knows everything about physics? She's like the best teacher in the world. And this professor is hey, we don't know what is matter. We don't know what, like, and she's like, she knows everything. Or like, you know, someone that sells on the market. So he can explain you quantum theory in the 4 sentences and certain that he's right. So it's relative.
So this applies to each and every degree. As we ascend spiritually, as you discover yourself on a new degree, it's like the same process. It's like being born again into the bottom, and you're kind of looking around and trying to figure out what's happening as you establish yourself.
Okay, so now we have wow. Okay, I missed that. I don't know. Okay. So Linda is asking if I don't understand, am I supposed to be? I'm confused, and I don't understand. What should I do? Please.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Back to page 373.
Now we have another one.
Although they do, hold on. Item 155 on page 373.
Sorry.
This is the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Therefore, we must ask, why then did the Kabbalists obligate each person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there's a great thing in it, worthy of being publicized. There's a wonderful, invaluable remedy, which is a remedy in the sense of it's a cure that works, but we can't attribute the cause to the effect. And it's not that we can attribute the cause to the effect, but we can't we don't have we can't pinpoint the mechanism by which it works. However, there's a wonderful and valuable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Although they do not understand what they are learning, through the yearning and great desire to understand what they are learning, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. And the lights, while we have not yet attained perfection, the lights that are designed to reach them are considered surrounding lights. They stand ready, but are waiting for them to purify their vessels of reception, at which time the lights will clothe the able vessels.
Okay, and last but not least, Benjamin is ready to ask his question live.
Yes, please.
Please, Benjamin.
So I have a question about the structure of creation. So from my understanding, for example, the Big Bang, and then you have almost as if materialization happened, where you'd have different levels of materialization, where you'd have the still, the vegetative, then the animate, then the human. And then it would seem to me that to rise back up, you'd have to go and add for example, the screen, which would then you'd need to put on like a still screen, which you would start to understand other people's points in the heart, as in terms of you kind of know what's good for them on a still level, and then you rise to a vegetative level where you would understand what's good and what's bad for them on a vegetative level, and then you'd rise to a level, I guess, of an animate level where you more free in terms of knowing what's good for the other points in the heart, and then you would rise to an even higher level, which would be on the speaking degree, which would gives you the most freedom of all, which would be like actually conversing, having a relationship between the creator and the other points in the heart, which would be the Adam Kadmon. Am I understanding this correctly?
So the levels as described, they kind of change according to the degree of attainment, and it's also it's like this fractal, or like a recursive structure, where you have 4 levels, but inside of them you have 4 levels, and inside of each of those you have 4 levels, and so on and so forth. And every attainment that we have anywhere in this world, or the spiritual world, or anything, always goes through these 4 levels of attainment: inanimate, vegetative, animal, and speaking. That's kind of one classification for it. Another one is all the other ones that we talked about. Where's the, like all of these also, you know, we attain it according to this, and according to this, and according to this, everything, even corporeal things, like when we attain the notion of this pen, our attainment is also according to these 4 levels. And I understand that's super confusing, and I'll leave that to you as an exercise to think about what that could mean.
Yeah, just in a general orientation, if you're talking about, so we in Pticha, like answering your question, what Dan is trying to say, answering your question could be confusing because you're taking it to a practical level, what we're studying, and we are talking now here. We're talking even before the spiritual reality started to emerge. After all the spiritual reality descends or cascades, just like we've read, then you have what we call the Big Bang. Then you have all the development of the materialization and the evolution of the desire in our world until the point in the heart. Then, and only then, after thousands or millions of years, depends how you count it, the actions, then you start to rise from below upwards in spirituality. And also, and you refer to that, and you referred correctly, that in spirituality, when we first engage in spirituality, we're like an embryo. We just notify ourselves, we sense the upper force. After that, we acquire more and more will to receive, rise above it, and then we are being born into the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, in the beginning, we're just like infants, and then we gradually start to grow until we attain the speaking level of the spiritual world. And also, just like Dan told you, even in each degree, because we are talking about the resemblance of the part and the whole, in each degree, you also have these phases. But in order not to get confused, really, it's better at this level, just read what they're saying, talking about that. Don't try to connect what we're reading, at least not in the few first times you learn this material, to our ascensions from below upwards. Sometimes me and Dan will give examples like that to give some flavor in that, so the text won't be completely like in the flavor of dust, but like tasteless. But still, don't be tempted to think that he's referring to us or even to a person in this world that ascends. It's way, way before that. It's on the level of the system. And we are 5 times after.
5 minutes after our.
Yeah, 5 minutes after.
So let's do some announcements. Leftover questions. They are important. So if you would like to just jot them down, the best thing would be, if possible, to kind of write them down, store them somewhere, and then next week we'll pick up again. As Aran said, probably from the beginning. We'll go through it a little bit faster and get to where we are. Maybe even continue with items 4 and 5, and then so you can ask your questions live, or send them into text, and then we'll try to cover them that way. Yeah. We have some announcements.
Yeah, we have an announcement. Oh no, where was that? I didn't prepare. No, it's very cool to see that everybody is hanging on to the end of the lesson. It's not a simple lesson. It's good. Where are the announcements? No, I don't have it. Do you have it? Maybe we can have moderators give us announcements. I'll do the usual announcements. If Dan will find them, then he'll say. So probably on Sunday there is a Shivat Chaverim, right, and the gathering of friends, and the young group. You have announcements? And then on Thursday we have the lesson with Mike. Next week we are on time as usual.
Yeah, there aren't really.
And there aren't really announcements. So we'll just wish you a nice evening, nice morning. Now there is probably Talmud 10 Asfirot study on the daily lesson if you want to get a flavor of that.
Right. So there's still about an hour left of the daily lesson. It's a good time now to switch over to Kav TV if you're watching live, if you have that,
Yeah, and Benjamin is concluding by, are we studying the system before the Big Bang? This is confusing. Yes, we are. And next time, as you ask, remind us in the beginning of the lesson, even before we start, we'll do some kind of general drawing to understand where we are in this, what are we talking about in this picture of reality, and orientate ourselves in this general map, okay? Sorry for not doing that, and thank you everybody, and really, I see that everybody would keep going on for another half an hour, but we need to wrap it up. So bye for now.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.